Alright guys, so this is the second video. We're going to be talking about Kenya and South Africa and maybe a few other countries. So this is Kenya here in this orange country here in Africa. This is the Kenyan flag. And why don't you guys, also it's in green in this map over here. Why don't you guys write down located along the eastern coast by the Indian Ocean. So located along the eastern coast by the Indian Ocean. Here's the cool flag with the shield and the spears. Write that down. It's a very beautiful country. It's known for its magnificent animal parks and their savanna grasslands. It's pretty cool, and I hope I can visit there sometime. It was colonized by the British in the 1800s. They gained independence in 1960s. And since then, compared to most African countries, they've had a relatively stable government. So why don't you guys write colonized by British, independent in 1960s, and then write relatively stable government. Relatively stable government. And here in these images, you guys can see in the black and white pictures the guy with the cool hat. That's Jomo Kenyatta. And I think he was like a liberator of like one of the independence movement, nationalist movement leaders, and the first president of Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta. And then in the color picture, I believe that's Uhuru Kenyatta in the bottom right, and I think that is one of his relatives. I don't know if it's his son or his grandson, or I know he's probably related to Jomo Kenyatta. Here we see some guys from I think it's the Maasai tribe of Kenya, and this is one of the ethnic groups in Kenya, and we're going to be watching like some videos about these dudes. But they've got some pretty cool clothing, very bright and colorful. These reds, these patterns, really nice clothes, and really vibrant culture that they have. And here we see a picture of Nairobi. This is the capital of Kenya, and take a look at this picture. I mean, it looks pretty developed, looks nice, looks clean, looks organized. So I would say it's a very nice city. Here you can see in the background with the giraffe, you see in the background that's also Nairobi. So pretty cool. Right on in the savannah, you see the giraffe. You see another image of Nairobi. Their GDP per capita was 1,245. So pretty low. Pretty low, huh? I mean, it's almost 1,000. It's a little bit over 1,000. So not very good. You guys can write that down as well. But guys, not all of Kenya looks as beautiful as Nairobi, right? Here you can see some images of some of the more impoverished rural towns in Kenya. Very poor little village. Look how they built these homes out of like, some tin, some metal scraps. Look how polluted this little water is here with all these bottles and plastic. These homes probably don't have running water, don't have electricity, very poor in some of the villages. So just to give you kind of a little contrast of what life could be like that. You could be living in a nice high-rise in Nairobi, or in a little village like this, super poor. All right, that was Kenya. Let's talk about South Africa now. So this is the flag of South Africa. This red country on the map is South Africa. And why don't you guys write down located at the southern tip of Africa. Located at the southern tip of Africa. That would be something good to write. So once again, there's a lot of grassland, lots of savanna, and many animals live there, like lions, elephants, giraffes, leopards. And the Kalahari Desert is to the north of South Africa. So why don't you guys write Kalahari Desert is north of South Africa, because that's another physical feature that we talked about. And I like this map here, showing you lots of the contrast of South Africa. You see some gazelles and some diamonds. You see giraffes, some birds, elephants, lions, rhinos, some cool artwork, some kite surfing, some dolphins, some regular surfing, hanging on the beach, turtles. And in the upper top, we see some of the Kung Bushmen, the San people. They're like these hunter-gatherers that are really cool. One of my favorite ethnic groups that I've studied. But yeah, they're pretty awesome, and we're going to be talking about them as well. So why don't we, this is important to write. Why don't you write down, main exports are gold and diamonds. Write that down. Main exports are gold and diamonds. That's how they've made a lot of money. And their GDP per capita in 2013 was 6,618. So far, I think they're actually I think they're the richest country in all of Africa per capita. So, if I'm not mistaken. So $6,618 per GDP per capita. And but you guys can see in the bottom right, they actually have these really racist laws. You see there it says whites only. We're going to talk a lot about that when we do history. But you can also write they practiced apartheid. You can write that down, and then you could say racist laws. That's just a little summary. Racist laws. And that was like for like 50 years, from like the 1940s all the way to 1990. South Africa had these super racist laws that discriminated against everyone who wasn't white. But we'll talk a lot more about that when we do history. Here we see, this is Nelson Mandela. He was actually the main opponent, not the main opponent, but the most prolific figure against the apartheid. And he was imprisoned for 27 years. And then he was released, and he became the first black president of South Africa. Here he is holding the FIFA World Cup, which was hosted by South Africa in 2010. So you guys can write down Nelson Mandela, first black president of South Africa. He's a very important figure that we're going to be talking about a lot once we talk about history. All right, let's do a little more. So Democratic Republic of the Congo. Why don't you guys write large country located in Central Africa? Okay, located in Central Africa. It's this big country, and I actually like their flag. I think it's got some nice colors. I think that this shade of blue is very nice. Not that this is relevant to this presentation, but I like this flag. It's pretty nice. Okay, why don't we write down rich in natural resources? Rich in natural resources. You can also write Congo River used for transportation and commerce. Congo River used for transportation and commerce. It's got rainforest, and some of the natural resources they have are like copper, cobalt, diamonds. But you guys can see these pictures. I like this picture. This woman's like carrying like a mattress on her head or like some blanket or something. This little kid, he's walking there, wrapped up in that blanket. Well, not blanket. That's probably just his clothes. He's just wrapped up in his clothes. Cool, like wraps. And this house here. This is important to write. Why don't you guys write troubled history with European colonialism and civil war. So write troubled history with European colonialism and civil war. So Democratic Republic of the Congo, it used to be a colony of Belgium, and it was some of the most vicious human rights violations in history happened here during the colonization. Their colonization of Belgium. Their conquest from Belgium. Also, you should write down political unrest. This is good. Political unrest has prevented them from developing their natural resources. So, political unrest has prevented them from developing their natural resources. Okay? And guys, these dudes, Democratic Republic of Congo, they have the lowest GDP per capita, I think, in the whole world. In the whole world, they're like pretty much the poorest country in the world. Their GDP per capita in 2013 was $483 a year. $483. I think it's the lowest in the world. I don't know. It says one of the lowest. I wrote that a while ago, but I think it's the lowest. But here you see, they're always changing the leadership, and the government. Their government is corrupt, and they changed, and they had civil war, and just very unstable. Okay, we'll save Sudan for the next slide. So let's just leave it there.